Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is League on Lock. Mark, I screwed up the thumb again. I can't do it, especially now I'm on the other side. I got to switch hands. It's too confusing. But it is League on Lock. That's the show.
We'll get there eventually here throughout the quarantine, and maybe Discord will stop throwing some curveballs at us on which side we're ending up.
Listen, if they swap it again, the next time we do a call, I'm going to lose my mind. Because now I'm ready for this, and if it does it again, I'm lost. I'm completely lost. A lot of highlights to go through. 3 matches in the LCK. We got clinching scenarios in both China and Korea. Before we get there, real quick though, FPX skins, World Championship skins got dropped. They're fiery. They look like High Noon mixed with robots. Do you like them, Mark?
Oh, I am a big fan of them. Big fan of FPX. Big fan of the skins coming through. And even I'll give a shout out here to Carlos. Big fan of his response to seeing them come out asking, hey, when are those G2 0-3 skins coming through here? That's not how it works here. You're getting the World Championship FPX skins. That's it this year. And they are, again, continuing. I think a lot of people over the years have developed quite a high expectation on the skins that we do get for achieving a world championship here for these organizations. And FPX's skins do not disappoint, but I will say one thing, a little bit familiar looking to kind of almost any Shyvana skin is kind of the gist I'm getting from looking at them.
I really had to look closely at the splash art to think, okay, that's a Lee Sin. I don't know if it's the way he's holding his hands. It looks like he has claws. And then the Vayne, I was like, is that Kha'Zix? Oh, no, it's the Vayne with her little crossbow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the only other nitpick I can really think of here that I didn't like is Gimgoon's back here. He wanted to have the full-on, tilt and solo queue of smashing his desk and everything like that. And instead, they toned it down because they pretty much looked at it and said, well, SKT Olaf kind of does the same thing, so we kind of can't do that.
MVP absolutely goes to the Malphite dance, of course. Doing B's callback to Worlds when he was on a bit of a dancing spree. But that's the MVP for sure. We'll see where it ranks all time amongst the World Championship skins. But
hey, it's busting out my wallet for sure.
Doesn't matter if you don't play the champ. A lot more Malphite mids coming out. Malphite supports.
No.
Throw them in any position.
Please.
Combine the skin plus Bwipo spamming emotes, and the Rock is coming to a lane near you. But first seed was on the line in the LCK this week. Gen.G wrapping up the regular season against KT Rolster. Even though it's a 3-way tie coming into the final week in Korea, it was pretty simple for them. Win and you're first. And they got it done against KT. It was a little bit suspect. It looked like they might be getting 2-0'd, but luckily for the Gen.G side, KT decided to give Malrang and Ray some run in that second game after Sowon went 11-1 with a pentakill on Jace, looking like prime Khan on Longzhu on that pick. And then they say, you know what? We should give Ray and Malrang some time. And Gen.G come back.
And it's really unacceptable and questionable here to make this type of move in this series here where, okay, I'm not sure exactly how much value here in picking up a series victory is for KT in the long run of things.
Meaningless.
Right. But when you're looking at here, moving forward, there wasn't exactly going to be a ton gained, I think, by putting in players like Ray or Malrang, as you're literally only days away from playoffs. I don't think anything necessarily groundbreaking was going to be discovered or worked on here in this matchup against Gen.G. And as you said, you had some phenomenal performances come through from the rest of this KT squad in the very first game of this series here. And then to make this swap out, and again, this swap out comes really questionable because, again, this whole run that KT has been making has been with this starting lineup. It really has not been at any point pivoting and changing the lineup to achieve these victories here. And so to do it in this matchup and against Gen.G of all the squads here, it's a really questionable choice. And it kind of feels very bad because KT, they had it. They had a chance here to take this series away from the top team.
The only thing I can see maybe where they're coming from, just to give them one last run on the Rift and say, hey, if we need to make some substitutions when the best of fives roll around, let's give you guys at least one game of stage action. But if you're doing that, you probably throw them in for both games regardless, because you're basically saying, we don't necessarily care about the outcome of this series, which they shouldn't. They are locked in for fourth. it doesn't matter. They probably should have just played them the entire series, to be honest. But competitive integrity, you want to try and deny that first seed to Gen.G. It didn't work. BDD got MVP in Game 3, which means he moves to 1,200 on the split, and now it is up to Chovy. He's one game ahead of Chovy for that MVP race, and you know what that means, Mark. We've seen it before. 2 games left to go, maybe 3 for Chovy, but 2 wins, and they're in. I'm ready for a 0-4-6 Zoe performance MVP title.
I'm ready for him to pop off, and it's going to actually, the MVP votes are going to go to depth for those 2 games here. And Chovy's going to get screwed out. The teammate coming through, denying him the revenge here for the past couple of years, denying that MVP here over to Chovy. But you're right, he's got it completely in his control here, whether to take it in the matchup coming up for DRX. And the MVP has been a really exciting race here to watch here in the LCK this year, with the way that a lot of these, top big name performers here, mostly in the mid lane, have really popped off and carried their teams and delivered these strong solo lane performances. This has been a really nice split here in the LCK when you're talking about these big name players here and stepping up to the level of performance that we expect from them and that people want to see from these names.
And real quick, the other substitution. Gen.G started this series with Kellen in at support, quickly got subbed out for games 2 and 3 for Life. I think it's almost without a doubt that they've looked better whenever Life is the one in that starting spot.
Yeah, I really think that Life has made me much more comfortable with the bottom lane than we ever have seen with Kellen so far this split. And I think Kellen has shown us some potential and shown us some good games here alongside Rula, but I just don't think that even in the games that he is providing these good things, I think there are still a lot of negatives that you could nitpick through here that I think Life provides a lot more of a steady playthrough alongside Ruler.
Yeah, and when you have Tucson going deathless, I mean, something's going wrong on the opposite side of support. 0-0-15 on Braum in that first match. But Gen.G go to 14-4. They are first right into the finals for playoffs. T1 was tied with them coming into the day, and they did what they needed to do. They got the 2-0 against Afrika. Teddy and Faker both dying a combined twice across the 2 games. And doesn't matter. They still can't get first. They're not even locked in for second, because if Dragon X goes 2-0, then they'll have the better game score than T1 and finish second. Even if it goes 2-1, then they'll have a tie for losses, and T1 has the head-to-head. So they need a 2-1 or a series loss out of Dragon X to finish second. But they look good against Afrika. Afrika didn't play particularly well. You had the clean quadra kill from Faker on Akali and a couple of carries for Kana. They look good.
I think there was overall a lot of positives here for the T1 squad, especially after, and you think about the last 2 weeks or so, and kind of some of the
been rocky,
right, shaky performances compared to the level that you want to see from T1 and the individual players there. This was a lot better to see. And as well here, the important thing you said was, Afrika Freaks didn't really step up to the plate today to provide the matchup that you were hoping to see, really, and really test the T1 players and see if they had really kind of, turned around this corner heading back towards the playoffs in good form. And I think by all accounts, I would think so. Looking at the performance of Faker and Teddy, very strong carry performances from the 2 of them. You mentioned Kana playing more of these carry champions in the top lane.
Jason Lucian.
Expanding stuff like that is a really nice look here for T1. And again, heading towards playoffs, providing that extra little wrinkle into something of draft and what you can think about is a great thing. And then Cuz even, again, providing the steady level of performances that we've been wanting to see. So there are a lot of good performances here on the side of T1 in this matchup against the Afrika Freaks. It just sucks that you don't want to put too much value into seeing these improvements, seeing this bounce back just quite yet here, given the level of play that Afrika Freaks matched up with today.
Yeah, and Afrika outside of the playoff picture, even if they won today, they wouldn't have been inside it. So probably not particularly inspired on the Rift. Cuz started both games for T1, and what's your approach if you go into the best of 5s? Because you expect that you want Cuz to play more games, but let's say you start Element game 1 and they win a couple of games. You keep them in going into game 2. Who are they going to be starting in game 1 of these best of 5s?
I think that you roll with Ilum in the start of them here. I think that could be an interesting play here is to roll with him at the beginning and then make any type of adjustments here. But if it'd be one of those type of ones here where if he's coming out, I don't want it to be, out and then back in. I would want a situation here where you've had
Cuz
him
is your
have a chance
closer.
here. Exactly. Cuz is my boy. I'm bringing him in here to shut things down. Bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, I'm excited to see both of those guys get some time. Either way, T1's not playing in round one, so we'll have to wait to see who their opponent is. But we know who the wild card or first round of playoff action is, and we knew that coming into today, regardless of outcomes, it was going to be Damwon versus KT. But the game wasn't meaningless today against Sandbox. For Sandbox, because Damwon said, you know what? We got some history in challengers, so we're going to try hard in this series because if we win, you're going to the promotion tournament, and that is exactly what is happening with Sandbox. Believe it or not, Mark, we live in a world where not only is APK Prince not in last, they're not going to the promotion tournament this year, and the teams that are going, some of the players involved, you've got Summit, On Fleek, Tarzan, Viper. Can we make a roster out of these guys going to promotion?
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And then think about this here. We just found out we're going to get franchising here coming to the LCK. Are you going to tell me that we're going to see the Griffin organization? We're going to see the big time hyped up here Sandbox organization here?
Done.
No, it is over for the most cases here. And for Sandbox, at least here, Griffin, we can get into different stories and there's a lot of things there. Sandbox, it's just a lot of disappointment here around this squad that you saw some potential. You saw the synergy that they had built up here at the beginning of the split here with the Kespa Cup. And then ever since then, it has been a pretty steady trajectory downwards here for the squad. They haven't really been able to figure things out, haven't been able to get any type of positive momentum going here. And as we've said, there are definitely still a lot of talented players and people with a lot of skill to offer here still in the professional scene. It has not worked out with these squads though.
5-13 for Sandbox finishing on the split. For a playoff team that only changed their bot lane coming into the split, that seems insane. Griffin is already 4-13. I mean, they can match Sandbox in their final game if they really wanted. 6 series wins for APK, and they could also add to that on the final day. It'd have to be an upset against Dragon X. But Damwon are the ones who actually won the series. They go on to playoffs with a little bit of a high, and the MVP of the entire series, because emotes are in the LCK as well. You had Ghost flashing the Sandbox emote, his former team. Obviously a little bit salty about how things ended and how great it must have felt for him to come on to Damwon. He's going to playoffs and to send his former squad into promotion. Feels good.
And again, we've said it for many years here, getting these emotes, getting that BM, that little bit of extra personality flair here coming through from these players here, looking a lot more like your solo queue games. Oh, it feels great. This is exactly what you want to be having here. That little bit of BM, that little bit of extra twist there from Ghost feels awesome. And yes, must feel pretty good sending your old squad down to relegations.
And we had a pretty good series from Nuggery. Got to play a couple of Jace games. At one point, he was 4 levels. He was level 18 to Summit's 14 on Ornn. Split pushing and just getting an inhib for free. That is not a fun time as an Ornn to be 4 levels behind.
He wasn't better than Sohan's Jace here for KT in that game 1 that
it was even.
And he got taken out. That's why we're saying how crazy it was that he got subbed out here. I just had to bring that back up here because I remember that.
Sure.
I thought back, you're talking about that Jace, and I'm like, man, how could you take him out after a performance like that?
I still feel like LCK always has the best Jace players in the top lane. You've had Khan.
That's not NA Jace.
That's not NA Jace. That's definitely not. But even comparing to the LPL, which also had a bunch of matches over the day. Gen.G locked up first in the LCK. IG looking to lock up first in the LPL and getting a win against World Elite is one step closer. Now 12-2, the first squad to reach that many wins in the LPL. It wasn't a convincing smash in their favor. It took 3 games. They got bodied in the game that World Elite won. But IG, they didn't play their best by any means, but they're still beating teams that they should for the most part. And it just feels like they're waiting for playoffs at this point.
Yeah, this was very much the kind of just checking in, taking care of business. Oh, they got a little bit sloppy here, underestimating WE a little bit, and then regrouping and getting everything under control here for the victory in this one. IG, it's pretty much autopilot as they get ready for these matches to have a little bit more significance in the playoffs.
I will say the only minorly concerning thing you could say about IG is there's a couple games now over the last few series where their bot lane has got hard camped and Puff has gotten insanely behind, like 2 levels behind the other 80 carry, 40 CS down from being camped, and you still get the odd time where Rookie and the Shy overplay their hand and try and make those highlight reel plays that there's a reason it takes a while to make these montage videos for most people. A lot of the time it doesn't work out.
Yeah, well, you better believe seeing the pattern here of some of these teams thinking that, you know what, you can't, if we put all these resources into trying to put Rookie and the Shy behind, it's not really going to get us that much here. And they're putting now the resources here into putting Puff behind here. And they're finding some level of success with that varying degrees. And obviously I say some levels of success because there's not a lot of success when you're going up against the IG squad here.
Yeah.
And look, that is one technique that we're seeing here. It's seeming to work a little bit here in the LPL. And you think towards the playoffs here and some of the bottom lanes that you're going to be having here. And again, some of the junglers that can be opening up these tents here down in the bottom side here. This could be something that IG want to think about and look at here as they head for playoffs.
And don't get me wrong, teams also love camping the Shy because he is always past his river. Doesn't matter if he's Ornn against a ranged champion. He's shoving. He's trying to be aggressive. So it seems to be pick a lane and try and camp it if you're going opposite IG. But 12 out of the 14 series this split, it has not worked as they are 12-2. EDG versus OMG, actually pretty important for playoff positioning. Both squads were well into the playoffs. Well, not well into. OMG 7-7. But in the playoff race coming into today. And EG, they've got Jinnu. They've got JJ back in the jungle, who was performing really well through his last time with EDG. They've got their full roster. They look much better. It was a pretty clean 2-0 out of them over OMG. And EDG look legit right now.
Hey man, the effort that this young EDG squad has really put forward here to get to the point that they are, and through everything that this EDG organization and players have had to go through here with the quarantine situations in various different provinces in China and things like that, it really has been a fully connected effort here from the EDG squad to get through and to put together these type of performances. And effort here is certainly a really bright sign here for what they've been able to accomplish under such circumstance.
Yeah, especially when you still had that consistent 3/5 of the rest of the roster. Scout and Hope have both shown that they are more than capable of being the featured carries on this squad throughout all of spring. They have that almost consistent third fiddle support, but always at the top, near the top of the table in the LPL in Mako. And there's a lot of veterans on this squad, specifically Scout and Mako, but in a best of 5, you never know what could happen with this EDG roster.
And especially with Coach Clearlove coming through. Again, as you say, all that experience, all those years there, type of thing, coming through with some creative choices in these big-time matches. And look, this is EDG, a well-storied franchise here in the LPL, and it is nice to see them have weathered such a tough year and tough circumstances to still be in the playoff race here. And as you said, EDG picking up this win here against OMG, it has other implications as we get towards these playoffs here. Pretty sure this locked up playoff.
Oh, the old Discord daily drop. But I believe what Mark was going to say is the win for EDG did lock up TES. Not only does EDG qualify for playoffs, but so does TES with that win, which means the top 6 in the LPL are now all locked up and ready to roll for playoffs. There's still 2 more spots that are open, as we're going to connect back to Mark in a minito on the Discord. But EDG 9-5, TES also 9-5 now, as we're all disappearing on the Discord train. We're disconnecting, and we're going for a recall. Da, da.
Yeah,
We're back.
There we go.
Welcome back to the
Love
show, everybody. This is League on Lock. I believe, now I said what I thought you were going for, and that is TES and EDG now both locked into playoffs. But someone who's not locked in is RNG. And that's because they're losing 0-2 to Dominus in a game that would have at least put them on the right track to clinching playoffs. But now they're 8-7, just ahead of 7-8 OMG. They have one more match against Suning to lock it up, but you got to get it done against Demo. And there are a lot of question marks around this RNG roster now. Longjing and Xiaolong Bao in particular did not perform well in this series. Is Uzi coming back? Are you saving him for playoffs? At this point, I'm not playing him till summer.
Look, when you're looking at the RNG performance, you can't accept what happened against Demo. That had to be one
that you come away with as Discord again, showing no mercy to us today. Absolute savages. Oh, but Mark's back this time.
Oh, we're back.
He didn't disconnect. He lives to tell the tale.
All right. I was saying,
and
we're disconnected. No, we're not disconnected.
We're
I'm
good.
saying that I'm not disconnected. It's the important thing.
That's what he was talking about.
I'm saying that this Demo victory needed to be picked up by RNG. This is the one that you expected them to pick up. And if you're going to be a playoff team, you have to be able to pick up this type of victory when it mattered. And as you said, the disappointing thing and the cause for concern here is in that top side in the jungle here. Yes, Xiaolong Bao, I don't have a lot of concerns in the future. I think this is just growing pains.
Still a rookie.
This type of performance. Right, but Longjing, that's not a rookie situation in the top side. And this is one that we've talked about. What it seems like now, at least for the past couple of years with RNG, that is the side that we feel is the weakest and one that needs to be addressed at some point here, given, let alone the strength that we have now seen from some of the elite top laners around the world. The top laners that you've got in your own backyard of the LPL here are certainly strong enough to absolutely punish and expose that side. That is going to be something that I think still needs to be addressed, and that's regardless of having Uzi in the starting lineup or not.
Yeah, and for this RNG squad, basically what you've seen throughout all of spring, I still assume that they're going to make playoffs. I think they'll beat Suning and get in, but I'll tell you, I got no confidence in them in a best of 5 against most of the teams that are in the LPL playoffs, because the top 5, throw in EDG, the top 6, IG, E-Star, FPX, JDG, EDG, top, I don't see RNG beating any of them in a best of 5.
And then that becomes the real question here is how do you manage that understanding of what you're looking at here for the rest of the LPL spring playoffs here, and the idea of bringing Uzi back into the starting lineup, right? The idea of, do we really need to, especially in the LPL compared to other regions, you need to be picking up these spring points here to get to the world championship here. And especially when you're looking at teams like IG and FPX, there's only one spot that's going to be dished out here to other teams in the LPL this year. And there's a lot of extremely talented squads that I think would put a bigger push in than RNG is capable of right now. And that is going to be a serious question if now, okay, well, you know what, Betty's been really solid here, and we've shown certain positives here this split, but it's obviously not to the level of Uzi playing in our starting lineup. Do you make that rush? Do you make that pushback here for just spring in an unguaranteed situation? Or do you just go, you know what, this is all right off. Everyone's been playing online, all these type of situations here. Let's just focus on summer with this lineup and Uzi and everything else.
Just trade him. Get rid of him. Get some cash for him. Send him to another squad. Why not? If I'm Uzi, I don't know. I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, ooh, is this a Worlds roster? Looks tough for RNG to make Worlds right now. But it's only spring. It's still championship points, though, in the LPL and the LCK. It's not gone the way of the useless spring like the LCS. So there are still some big stakes for this entire spring playoff, even though it's got this huge asterisk around it with all the online play. It does still have a lot of importance going forward. Tomorrow, key matches. The LCK regular season wraps up. Hanwha versus Griffin in a completely meaningless game. I better see some troll team comps in that series. And then after that, Dragon X versus...
God bless Discord cutting out.
God bless it. It went away. It's still here.
It's having some it's having some troubles.
It's struggling today.
But
Then
you know what
APK
else?
versus Dragon X, and I already mentioned Dragon X. If they
that's
2-0
gonna be a
that,
struggle for APK.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. Just like Discord, it's gonna have a real struggle going up against the DRX squad.
but DRX, you want to speed run that and win it in 2 games because then you'll finish second. If it goes 2-1, T1 finishes second. So that has big implications. But APK is not the walkover that we thought they were going to be this entire split. And in the LPL, the match of the day, match of the week, maybe. Top eSports versus eStar. That's a tasty one.
Baby.
Jackie Love.
Hey. Let's get these young rookies up against the top esports squad here. Let me see Wink into Jackie Love. Let's see Crying into Night. Give me these big-time matchups here. This is a hype one here for the LPL. We've been telling you to watch eStar. We've been telling you to watch the LPL for over the past couple years here. Don't miss this one, guys. Don't miss this one. Don't do this to yourself, because I tell you what, even if you're cheering for FPX, even if you're cheering for eStar, I don't care who you're going for in this one. It's going to be extremely exciting. You might see a wacky pick or two come through. You're going to see some emotes. This is certainly League of Legends you want to be watching.
Yeah, and they've both already locked playoffs, but seeding is still so important to avoid, playing some of these top-tier squads or playing FPX/IG earlier than you need to. So it's going to be an exciting one. Going to be a banger on the Rift, and yes, we're leaving in peak, the pinnacle of competitive League of Legends, because emotes are coming everywhere. Mark and I couldn't be happier.
It's perfect. Bring on more personality, and of course, bring on all the BM that you can handle.
Bring on all the BM, because that's what makes the game great. We'll go through the highlights as the week goes on, and we'll also preview these playoff matchups probably on Friday, because the playoffs don't actually all start till Saturday. We got G2 versus Mad, EG versus FlyQuest in a rematch, and then LCK ones, which actually matter. KT versus Damwon to kick things off, but we'll bring it all here on League Unlocked. That is Mark. My name's Eric. Thanks for hanging out. Let's get out of here before Discord disconnects us again. We'll catch you on the flippity flop.